I never thought I'd be in this situation. I'm Jack, 28M, and I've been with my girlfriend Lena, 25F, for 4 years. We met during our junior year of college at a campus event. I was instantly drawn to her intelligence, humor, and stunning looks. We started dating soon after, and things just clicked. Some background about me. I come from a well-off family in the suburbs. My parents, Robert, 58M, and Linda, 55F, own a successful chain of high-end Italian restaurants across the state. It started as a small family-owned place that my grandparents opened when they immigrated from Italy. My dad took over and expanded it into what it is today. I have an older brother, Alex, 30LM, who's always been the golden child. He followed in Dad's footsteps, went to business school, and now helps run the family business. I chose a different path and became an engineer. This caused some tension initially, as my parents hoped I'd join the business too. But they came around eventually and supported my choice. Growing up, Alex and I were close despite the age gap. We shared a room until I was 12, and he always looked out for me at school. He taught me how to ride a bike, helped me with my homework, and even covered for me when I snuck out to parties in high school. I looked up to him and trusted him completely. Lena comes from a middle-class background. Her parents, Tom, 53M, and Sarah, 51F, are both high school teachers. She's an only child and very close to her parents. They worked hard to put her through college, and she's always been determined to make them proud. When I introduced Lena to my family, they welcomed her with open arms. My mom especially adored her and often joked about how she finally got the daughter she always wanted. Lena fit right in at our family gatherings, charming everyone with her wit and warmth. Even my grandmother, who's usually skeptical of outsiders, took a liking to her. Everything seemed perfect. Lena and I moved in together after graduation. We both landed good jobs, me at a tech startup and her at a marketing firm. We talked about our future, dreaming of a house in the suburbs, a couple of kids, maybe a dog. I thought I had it all figured out. But about 6 months ago, things started to change. Lena became distant and was always on her phone. She started working late more often and canceling our plans last minute. When I asked her about it, she'd say work was stressing her out. I believed her because why wouldn't I? I trusted her completely. Looking back, there were signs I chose to ignore. She'd get defensive if I asked to use her phone to look something up. She'd leave the room to take calls. Once, I came home early and found her hastily closing her laptop, looking flustered. But I brushed it all off, telling myself I was being paranoid. Then came the bombshell. I was planning to propose to Lena on our upcoming vacation to Hawaii. I had it all planned out. A romantic dinner on the beach, followed by a moonlit walk where I'd pop the question. I even asked her dad for his blessing, which he gave enthusiastically. I was so excited that I couldn't keep it to myself. I told Alex about it, seeking his advice on the ring I'd picked out. His reaction was odd. He seemed uncomfortable and tried to discourage me from proposing. He said we were too young and should wait a few more years. This coming from the guy who'd been pestering me to put a ring on it for the past year. I brushed it off, thinking he was just being overprotective. The day before we were supposed to leave for Hawaii, Lena called me. She sounded upset and said she needed to talk to me urgently. My heart sank. I knew something was wrong. We met at a cafe near her workplace. As soon as I saw her face, I knew my world was about to come crashing down. With tears in her eyes, she confessed that she'd been cheating on me for 3 months with my brother. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The woman I loved and the brother I trusted had betrayed me in the worst possible way. But wait, there's more. She was pregnant, and it was Alex's. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could they do this to me? How long had this been going on? Was I really that blind? 1,000 questions raced through my mind, but I couldn't voice any of them. I just sat there, stunned. Lena tried to explain, saying it started as a drunken mistake at a family barbecue 3 months ago. Alex had been having problems with his girlfriend, and Lena comforted him. One thing led to another and, well, you know the rest. She said they tried to end it, but couldn't stay away from each other. She swore she still loved me, that she'd made a terrible mistake. I couldn't listen anymore. I stormed out of the cafe, ignoring her pleas to hear her out. I drove straight to my parents' house, where I knew Alex would be. I found him in the backyard, helping Dad with some gardening. I lost it. I punched him square in the face. Dad had to pull me off him. Through my rage, I told them everything. Mom started crying. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in those few minutes. Alex just stood there, blood dripping from his nose, looking guilty as hell. The next few days were a blur. I locked myself in my apartment, ignoring calls and messages from everyone. I felt hollow, betrayed, angry. But mostly, I felt stupid. How could I not have seen this coming? I thought about all the times Lena and Alex had been alone together. Family dinners, holiday, gatherings, the times Alex had given Lena a ride home from work when her car was in the shop. Had they been laughing at me behind my back this whole time? After a week of wallowing in self-pity, I decided I wasn't going to let them get away with this. They deserved to feel the shame and humiliation they'd put me through. So, I hatched a plan. I called Lena and told her I wanted to work things out. I said I was willing to forgive her and raise the baby as my own. She was overjoyed, promising she'd spend the rest of her life making it up to me. I suggested we announce our engagement to friends and family. She agreed enthusiastically. I spent the next month planning the engagement party. I invited all our friends, family, colleagues, basically everyone we knew. I even convinced Alex to come, saying I'd forgiven him too. He seemed hesitant, but agreed. During this time, I pretended everything was fine. I went to work, smiled at family dinners, and even helped Lena with her morning sickness. All the while, I was gathering evidence. I hacked into Lena's phone and email, not proud of this, but I was desperate. I found countless messages between her and Alex, discussing their affair and the baby. The day of the party arrived. We held it at my parents' house, in their spacious backyard. Everyone was in high spirits, congratulating us and gushing over how perfect we were together. If only they knew. When it was time for speeches, I stood up, champagne glass in hand. I thanked everyone for coming and said I had a special video to share, a montage of our love story. The lights dimmed, and the video started playing on the big screen we'd set up. At first, it showed pictures of Lena and me, from when we first met to our recent times together. Then, suddenly, the pictures changed. They were screenshots of text messages between Lena and Alex, discussing their affair and the baby. There were also pictures of them together, looking very much like a couple. The room fell silent. You could hear a pin drop. I turned to Lena and Alex, who were sitting at opposite ends of the room, both white as sheets. "Congratulations," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "You're going to be parents. I hope you're very happy together." With that, I walked out, leaving behind a room full of shocked guests and two very exposed cheaters. As I drove away, I could see the chaos erupting in the rearview mirror. People were shouting, some were crying. My mom collapsed into a chair, while my dad looked like he was about to explode. It's been a month since that day. I've gone no contact with Lena and Alex. My parents are devastated, torn between their two sons. Most of our friends have sided with me, disgusted by their betrayal. I know some might say I went too far with the public humiliation, but I don't regret it. They humiliated me by carrying on their affair behind my back. They deserve to face the consequences of their actions. I'm still hurting, still angry, but I'm also relieved. Relieved that I found out before I married her, before I committed my life to someone who could betray me so easily. As for the future, I'm taking it one day at a time. I've thrown myself into work, started hitting the gym regularly, and am slowly rebuilding my life. It's not easy, but I know I'll come out stronger on the other side. Update 1. It's been about 3 months since the engagement party fiasco, and a lot has happened. I thought I'd update you all on the situation. First off, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments. Reading them helped me get through some really tough days. Now, onto the update. After the party, Lena tried to contact me multiple times. She left voicemails, sent texts, and even emails explaining her side of the story. In one particularly long email, she detailed how the affair started, how guilty she felt, and how she never meant to hurt me. She said she was confused and made a terrible mistake. I ignored them all. I wasn't ready to hear her excuses. Alex, on the other hand, kept his distance at first. Then, about a month after the party, he showed up at my apartment. I was tempted to slam the door in his face, but curiosity got the better of me. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in weeks. He tried to apologize, saying he'd made the biggest mistake of his life and would do anything to make it right. I listened, but I felt nothing. The brother I knew and loved was gone. I told him to leave and not come back. About a month after that, I received a letter from Lena. She wrote that she was moving out of the city to live with her parents. She said she understood that what she did was unforgivable and that she would respect my wish for no contact. She also mentioned that she and Alex had decided to co-parent the baby, but weren't pursuing a relationship. Part of me was glad to hear that, but mostly, I just felt numb. My relationship with my parents has been strained. They're caught in the middle of this mess, trying to balance their love for both their sons. Mom calls me every day, but our conversations are short and awkward. She tries to update me on Alex and Lena, thinking I want to know, but I always change the subject. Dad. Well, he's always been a man of few words, but now he barely speaks at all when I'm around. I can see the disappointment in his eyes, not just in Alex, but in me too, for how I handled the situation. The hardest part has been dealing with family events. I skipped the annual family barbecue last month, unable to face everyone. My cousin's wedding is coming up, and I'm dreading it. I know I'll have to see them eventually, but for now, I'm keeping my distance. Work has been my saving grace. I threw myself into a big project, working long hours to keep my mind occupied. We're developing a new software that could revolutionize the way small businesses handle their inventory. It's challenging and exciting, and it gives me something to focus on besides my personal life. My boss noticed my dedication and hinted at a possible promotion. At least something good came out of this mess. I've also started seeing someone. Her name is Rachel, 27F, and we met at a work conference. She works for a partner company, so we don't see each other every day, which is nice. She knows about my past and is patient with my trust issues. We're taking things slow, but it feels good to have someone to talk to who isn't connected to the whole situation. Rachel is different from Lena in many ways. She's more career-focused and independent. She loves outdoor activities and has gotten me into hiking, which has been a great stress reliever. She's also very straightforward. If something's bothering her, she says it outright. After what happened with Lena, I appreciate this honesty more than I can express. As for Alex and Lena, I heard through the grapevine that they're expecting a boy. It stung to hear that, I won't lie. I couldn't help but think about how that should have been my future, having a family with the woman I loved. But I'm working on accepting it and moving on. The situation has affected the family business too. Alex has taken a step back from his role, apparently too ashamed to face the employees who all know what happened. Dad's had to pick up the slack, which isn't easy at his age. I feel guilty about this sometimes, even though I know it's not my fault. I've started seeing a therapist to help me process everything. It's been helpful to have an objective person to talk to. She's helping me work through my anger and trust issues. It's a slow process, but I'm making progress. One unexpected outcome of all this is that I've reconnected with some old friends. People I'd lost touch with over the years reached out after hearing what happened. It's been nice to rebuild these connections and remember who I was before Lena came into my life. I'm still angry, still hurt, but I'm also hopeful. Hopeful that one day this will all be a distant memory. Until then, I'm focusing on myself and my healing journey. Thank you all again for your support. It means more than you know. Update 2. Hey everyone, it's been about a year since my last update, and I felt it was time to fill you in on what's been happening. Life has a funny way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. Just when I thought things were starting to look up, everything got complicated again. Rachel and I broke up about 6 months ago. It wasn't anyone's fault, really. We both realized that I wasn't ready for a serious relationship. My trust issues were more deeply rooted than I'd thought, and it wasn't fair to her. We parted on good terms, and I'm grateful for the time we had together. She taught me that I could still feel something for someone, even after what happened with Lena. After the breakup, I threw myself into work even more. The project I mentioned in my last update was a huge success. We launched the software, and it's been well received in the market. This led to my promotion. I'm now heading up my own team on a new, even bigger project. The long hours and added responsibility have been a welcome distraction from my personal life. Now, on to the big news. Lena gave birth to her son 3 months ago. I found out through my mom, who couldn't contain her excitement about her first grandchild. It was a strange feeling, knowing that my ex and my brother had a child together. Part of me was curious about the baby, but another part wanted nothing to do with the situation. Against my better judgment, I agreed to see the baby when my parents asked. They've been trying to mend the rift in the family, and I guess they saw this as an opportunity. It was intense. Seeing Lena again after all this time brought up a lot of emotions I thought I'd dealt with. She looked different, tired, but with a softness about her that comes with new motherhood. The baby, little Ethan, looks just like Alex did when he was a baby. It was surreal. Alex was there too. It was the first time we'd been in the same room since the engagement party. The tension was palpable. We barely spoke 2 words to each other. Mom tried to play peacemaker, but it was clear that the rift between us is far from healed. Alex tried to talk to me privately, but I shut it down. I wasn't ready for that conversation. After that day, I made a decision. I told my parents that while I don't hold any ill will towards the baby, I can't be a part of his life. It's too painful, too complicated, They were disappointed but said they understood. Mom cried, which made me feel guilty. But I know it's the right decision for my mental health. On a brighter note, I've started traveling more. I took a solo trip to Europe last month, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the courage to. I visited Italy, where my grandparents came from, and it was an eye-opening experience. Standing in the small village where my family originated, I felt a connection to my roots that I'd never experienced before. It helped me gain some perspective on everything that's happened. I've also started dating again, casually. Nothing serious, just getting back out there. It's been nice to meet new people and remember that there's a whole world out there beyond my family drama. As for my relationship with my family, it's still strained. I see my parents occasionally, but our interactions are superficial. We carefully avoid talking about Alex or Lena or the baby. It's not ideal, but it's the best I can manage right now. Dad's health hasn't been great lately. The stress of everything has taken its toll. I try to help out with the business when I can, but it's awkward being there knowing Alex might show up. I know some of you might think I'm being too harsh. That family should come first. But the trust that was broken. It's not something I can just forget. Maybe someday I'll be able to forgive. But for now, I need to focus on my own healing. So that's where things stand. I'm not where I thought I'd be a year ago, but I'm okay. I'm learning to be comfortable with being alone, to trust myself again. It's a process, but I'm getting there. Thank you all for listening. Your support has been a constant source of strength through all of this. Update 3. Hello everyone. It's been 2 years since my last update, and 5 years since the original incident. I thought it was time for a final update to close this chapter of my life. A lot has changed in the past 2 years. I've done a lot of soul searching and growing, and I'm in a much better place now, both mentally and emotionally. The biggest change is that I've moved to a different state for work. My company opened a new branch in California, and I was offered the position of heading it. It was a big decision, leaving behind everything familiar, but it turned out to be exactly what I needed. The fresh start has been incredibly healing. Being away from the constant reminders of what happened has allowed me to process everything more objectively. I've realized that while what Alex and Lena did was unforgivable, holding on to that anger was only hurting me. I'm not saying I've forgotten or completely forgiven, but I'm no longer consumed by it. As for my family situation, there's been some progress. I've slowly started rebuilding my relationship with my parents. We talk more often now, and I even spent last Christmas with them. It was awkward at times, especially when they talked about Ethan, but we're getting better at navigating those conversations. Dad's health has improved, which is a relief. He stepped back from the day-to-day running of the restaurants, with Alex taking on more responsibility. It's good to see Dad relaxing more, even if the circumstances that led to it are less than ideal. Alex and I, well, we're not close, but we're civil. We saw each other at Dad's 60th birthday party last month. We didn't talk much, but we managed to be in the same room without any drama. It's a start, I guess. He tried to apologize again, but I told him I wasn't ready for that conversation. Maybe someday, but not yet. Lena reached out to me about a year ago. She apologized again for everything and said she hoped that someday I could forgive her. I appreciated her words, but I made it clear that while I no longer harbor anger towards her, we can never be friends. She understood and respected my decision. I've met Ethan a few times now. He's a bright, energetic little boy. It's still strange to think of him as my nephew, but I'm working on separating my feelings about his parents from my feelings about him. He's innocent in all of this after all. On the personal front, I've started dating again. I've been seeing someone for about 6 months now. Her name is Olivia, 30F, and we met through a mutual friend. She knows about my past, and she's been incredibly understanding and patient. It's early days yet, but I'm cautiously optimistic. Work continues to be a positive aspect of my life. The California branch is doing well, and I'm enjoying the challenges that come with leading a team. The change of scenery has been good for me too. There's something about the laid-back West Coast vibe that's helped me relax and let go of some of the tension I've been carrying. Looking back on everything that's happened, I can see how much I've grown. The pain and betrayal I felt 5 years ago no longer define me. They're a part of my story, yes, but they're not the whole story. I've learned a lot about forgiveness, not just forgiving others, but forgiving myself too. For a long time, I blamed myself for not seeing the signs, for being so blind to what was happening right under my nose. But I've come to realize that their choices were not my fault. I've also learned the importance of setting boundaries and sticking to them. It wasn't easy cutting off my brother and Lena, but it was necessary for my healing. And now, as I slowly let them back into my life on my terms, I'm better equipped to protect myself emotionally. To anyone out there going through something similar, I want you to know that it does get better. It takes time, and it's not a linear process, but you will heal. You will find happiness again. Thank you all for being a part of this journey with me. Your support and kind words have meant more than you know. This will be my last update. It's time to close this chapter and focus on writing new ones.